It started with a tremor, small, unremarkable, deep under the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. At first, geologists dismissed it as minor seismic activity. But then came the satellite anomalies. A vast heat signature had bloomed under the Earth's crust. A long, continuous line of unexpected density and temperature. It didn't match any known fault line. It didn't match anything. When LiDAR drones were deployed, the shock began to settle in. A perfectly linear stone structure buried over 50 meters beneath solid granite, stretching over 300 miles, hidden for thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of years. Not rubble, not natural formation. A wall, not just any wall. A massive prehistoric barrier that ran beneath forests, rivers, and entire mountain valleys. Straight, unbroken, precise down to the centimeter, with interlocking stone blocks so massive, machines today couldn't move them without fracturing. The media didn't hear about it at first. It was buried, figuratively and literally, by internal memos inside the U.S. Geological Survey and the Army Corps of Engineers. But when an anonymous satellite contractor leaked thermal scans, forums across the internet lit up. Did ancient giants build this? This wall predates everything we know. Why is no one talking about a 300-mile structure buried under the U.S.? The official silence only fueled curiosity. Soon, an independent team of archaeologists and geophysicists, led by Dr. Hannah Reyes from the University of Oregon, began their own quiet investigation. They weren't funded by the government. They used borrowed equipment, hacked satellite time, and crowd-sourced their expedition. What they discovered shouldn't exist. The stone blocks forming the wall weren't just big. They were cut with microscopic precision, edges so straight they formed vacuum-tight joints. Even stranger, the stone used a mix of basalt, quartzite, and a third unidentified compound. Wasn't native to any part of North America. Dr. Reyes' team drilled into one segment and pulled out a core sample. The lab results returned with impossible data. The quartz had been molecularly fused, not stacked. The heat required to shape such stone, over 25°C, hotter than modern forges. The date, at least 60,000 years old, possibly more. This predated Native American civilizations, the Clovis people, even the oldest known toolmakers in the Americas. In fact, it challenged the entire timeline of human activity in North America. Then came the carvings. At the westernmost exposed section near Mono Lake, faint geometric glyphs were uncovered, etched into the stone. Not letters, not cave art, but mathematical sequences, prime numbers, Fibonacci spirals, golden ratios, pure math expressed in stone. One panel showed something even stranger. A relief sculpture of the Earth as seen from space. Not abstract, accurate. With ice caps, ocean currents, and even outlines of continents visible. The carving depicted a planet under observation, not worship. Dr. Reyes whispered to the camera as they cleaned the carving, this wasn't meant for humans. At least, not humans from that time. Then came the pushback. Within 72 hours of the discovery going viral, federal agents arrived at the site. Equipment was confiscated. Access roads were shut down. The team was ordered to leave under threat of trespassing and obstruction. The government's official statement: the anomaly is a natural formation. There is no evidence of artificial structures. But people had seen the footage, the glyphs, the wall, the impossible craftsmanship, and one last image leaked. A scan of the wall's full route showing that it terminated deep beneath Area 6, a restricted military sector adjacent to the more infamous Area 51. The implication was chilling. This wall wasn't a border. It was a containment line. Not to keep something out, but to keep something in. The image leaked from the satellite contractor was clearer than most expected. A subterranean line of ultra-dense stone weaving silently beneath California and Nevada, ending abruptly in the restricted military zone known as Area 6. It wasn't a circle, it wasn't a foundation, it was a wall. Pure, deliberate. That single leak made one thing undeniable: this wasn't natural. It was designed. At first, most dismissed it as another internet conspiracy. But then researchers, amateur archaeologists, and rogue geologists began stacking independent data sets. They layered the wall's outline over geological surveys, seismic maps, and historical earthquake fault lines. The results made no sense. The structure followed no tectonic logic, no mineral seams, no predictable geography. Instead, the wall sliced cleanly beneath mountain ranges, valleys, and even under ancient riverbeds, ignoring every obstacle like a blade through soft clay. It was as if nothing mattered to its builders. Not terrain, not erosion, not even time. Speculation spread like wildfire. Some whispered that it was a remnant of a forgotten super-civilization, one more advanced than anything recorded in known prehistory. Others, more radical, claimed it was never human at all. Evidence of non-terrestrial design, hidden in plain sight. But the most chilling theory came from a growing chorus of independent voices. What if it wasn't a foundation or a relic at all? What if it was a barrier, built to hold something underground, something that should never surface again? Despite mounting pressure, Dr. Hannah Reyes refused to back down. Government agencies cracked down on leaks, classified scans disappeared from university servers, and contractors were silenced under sealed orders. Yet Reyes and her scattered team pressed forward. They went off-grid, physically and digitally, building a shadow network of encrypted nodes to preserve whatever fragments of truth they could gather. Help came from an unexpected quarter colonel Raymond Ray Whittaker, a retired Army geotechnical engineer who had once worked under DARPA in the late 80s. He requested a meeting far from prying eyes at an abandoned ranch on the Utah Plateau. Reyes arrived expecting vague rumors or dead ends. What she got instead was revelation. "I've seen that wall before," Ray said, his weathered hands trembling as he lit a cigarette against the desert wind. 30 years ago, we were running a classified bore operation near Groom Lake, Nevada. Officially, it was a mineral survey. But unofficially, we were chasing what they called a geological anomaly. He paused, staring at the horizon as if still haunted by the memory. The moment our drills touched it, everything failed. Instruments fried. Magnetics spiked off the charts. The rig, 80 tons of steel, tore itself apart in less than 2 minutes. Men barely made it out alive. No explanation. Just orders: seal the hole, erase the records, and never speak of it again. Reyes leaned forward. What did they think it was? Ray exhaled a long plume of smoke before answering. The lead on the mission wasn't military. He was a civilian. Wore a CIA badge. He told me something I never forgot. He said it wasn't just an anomaly. He called it an anchor point. Said there were 4 of them across the world. Called them the pins. Reyes frowned. Pins. For what? Ray's eyes narrowed, as if the Earth itself needed to be pinned down. That same night, Reyes' private server, protected by layers of encryption, was breached. Files vanished in silence. High-resolution LiDAR models, glyph photographs, encrypted geological charts, deleted cleanly, with administrator-level access normally reserved for defense agencies. This wasn't an ordinary cover-up. This was something deeper, older. A machine that had been protecting its secrets for generations. And yet, amid the purge, one file survived. An oversight, or a deliberate breadcrumb. It was an image fragment Ray had smuggled out decades earlier. A partial scan, incomplete, but enough to redraw the picture. The wall was not a line, not simply a barrier cutting through stone. It was part of a larger structure. A circle, miles in diameter, buried beneath the Sierra Nevada bedrock. At its heart lay a vast hollow chamber, empty, silent, cold, but not lifeless. The most recent geological data showed something terrifying. Pressure around the chamber had shifted. The surrounding rock was warming, as though some hidden furnace had stirred from dormancy. Thermal scans revealed new heat blooms radiating from the chamber's edges, patterns no natural process could explain. And worse still, movement, not much, barely measurable, but undeniable. A rhythmic pulse, slow and deliberate, like the faint rise and fall of a giant creature breathing in its sleep. Something inside that chamber, sealed beneath miles of stone for tens of thousands of years, was now stirring. Reyes stared at the surviving scan until her eyes blurred. The implication struck her harder than any data before. This was no ruin of an ancient civilization. This was no temple. And it certainly wasn't a foundation. It was a lock designed with knowledge no human society had ever possessed. A lock forged from materials that defied analysis, fused at the molecular level as if stone itself had been rewritten. A lock meant to last longer than empires, longer than history, longer than memory. And now, for the first time since its creation, perhaps for the first time in 60,000 years, the lock was weakening, the pulse inside was quickening, and no one alive today knew what had been buried within. 2 days after Colonel Reyes' revelation, Dr. Hannah Reyes was still running on little more than caffeine and adrenaline. Her team had only just begun processing the implications of the locks. Beneath Earth when the courier arrived. No insignia, no ID, just a man in a gray coat who left an envelope on the security desk and vanished without a word. Inside the envelope was a USB drive, black, unmarked, wrapped in a sheet of plain brown paper. The label on the drive's single file chilled her. Codex Theta, LV426. Reyes didn't dare connect it to the lab's network. She brought an isolated laptop online in a Faraday-shielded chamber, powered it with an independent generator, and loaded the file. What opened wasn't text. It wasn't even video. It was a 3D rendering, a hyper-detailed internal model of the chamber at the Sierra Wall's center. Layer by layer she rotated it, scanned it, studied the fine readouts of thermal currents and pressure zones. Whoever had compiled this data had access to sensors far beyond her own, and at the very center, pulsing every 61 seconds, was the signal they had already detected. But that wasn't what froze her blood, because buried beneath the stone, upright, impossibly massive, nearly 900 meters tall, was a structure. It was not rock, it was not natural, it was built. Its outer walls curved inward like rib bones, wrapping around a massive vertical core. Within that core glowed a steady red light. Faint, but constant, unwavering. Reyes leaned closer to the screen, zooming in until the pixels began to blur. At the very peak of the core structure was a circular indentation, smooth, perfect. Not eroded, not broken, a socket, a seal, a keyhole. She whispered aloud, barely aware of her own voice. It's not a vault. It's a container. And whatever it contained was still online. The same week, satellite data from a private aerospace firm monitoring magnetic fields over North America began showing wild irregularities, not the kind associated with solar storms, not even nuclear tests. These were magnetogravitational disturbances, ripples twisting local gravitational constants by microseconds, bending GPS clocks out of sync. The company forwarded the anomalies to a contact inside the European Space Agency. The reply came back in less than an hour. Just one sentence. This is not terrestrial. Whatever it is, it's reacting to something. Help arrived from an unexpected source. A linguist named Dr. Elias McConnon at Addis Ababa University contacted Reyes under an alias. He had seen the leaked glyph photographs online. His message was careful, measured, but urgent. I know these symbols. I can help. When Reyes brought him into the secure channel, his analysis stunned the team. These glyphs, McConnon explained, are not new. They appear at Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, carved into one of the T-shaped pillars. That site is over 11,000 years old. Reyes frowned. Coincidence? No, McConnon replied firmly, because the exact same motif appears in petroglyphs inside a deep sea cave off the coast of Japan, and again on the megaliths of Tiwanaku in Bolivia. Same spirals, same walls, same symbols. The implication was unthinkable. Cultures separated by oceans and millennia had etched the same patterns. Makanan shared his partial translation. Across every site, a refrain repeated. They bound the fire with stone, so that sky would never touch soil again. 4 keys. 1 gate. Do not open the song. The words hung in the room like a curse. What does it mean, do not open the song? Reyes asked quietly. Makanan exhaled. In ancient languages, song often symbolized resonance, frequency, vibration. Not literal music, more likely a signal. Something that must remain silent forever. But silence was no longer an option. On September 1st, at exactly 3:33 a.m., seismic detectors in Nevada recorded an impossible vibration, not noise, but resonance, a harmonic frequency too low for the human ear, but powerful enough to ripple through the crust. At that moment, a fracture appeared along the wall. Just a thin vertical line at first, but the stone that had held stable for over 60,000 years now bore a wound. Inside the chamber, the drone feed showed the pulsing red glow surge to twice its intensity. Not random, not natural, responsive. Something beneath had felt the breach, and it was stirring. Far above Earth, a satellite operated by SATA for deep space radio mapping logged a faint return echo. It wasn't cosmic background noise. It wasn't a pulsar or quasar. It was intentional, a harmonic ping matching the Sierra Wall's exact frequency. Its source, a system over 40 light-years away. For hours, analysts tried to dismiss it. Equipment failure, software artifact, interference. But the harmonics lined up too perfectly. It wasn't just Earth's wall that had awakened. Something out there had heard it. And now, across the gulf of space, it was answering back. Reyes sat alone at her desk as dawn broke over the Nevada horizon, staring at the final readout. The data didn't lie. The structure under the Sierras wasn't a ruin. It wasn't a temple. It wasn't even just a lock. It was a container, built to hold something vast, something dangerous, and something that ancient civilizations across the planet had once sworn never to awaken. And now, it was too late. The wall had cracked. The signal had been sent. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, something now knew we had opened it. The crack in the wall widened slowly, not violently, but with intention. It wasn't stone splintering under pressure. It wasn't erosion or fracture. It was deliberate, as though the structure itself was responding to something unseen. Seismographs across Nevada and California lit up with rhythmic pulses every 61 seconds, the same resonance first detected by Dr. Reyes' team weeks earlier. But the pattern was changing. What had been steady, predictable, was now accelerating. Each new pulse arrived a fraction of a second sooner than the last. It wasn't just reacting. It was waking something up. Far away in Montana, buried beneath miles of abandoned government infrastructure, a retired technician named Miles Trenton sat alone in a locked NSA vault. His hands shook as he scrolled through satellite archives that hadn't been accessed in decades. Most of the data was corrupted. Snowy images, garbled waveforms, incomplete telemetry. But then he saw it, a recording from 1984. It shouldn't have existed. It had been marked for deletion after being dismissed as noise. Yet here it was, 8 seconds of a subharmonic frequency spike, identical to the one currently emanating from the Sierra Wall. 8 seconds. Then silence. Back then, no one had understood it. Now, the same vibration had returned. Stronger, clearer, and persistent. Trenton followed the metadata, tracing it through forgotten directories until he uncovered a hidden node, a file labeled Project OMPA-LOS. The encryption was outdated, crude by modern standards. He broke it in hours. The report chilled him. Structural bindings remained stable. Core vibration contained. Estimated decay rate, 0.07%. Recommend no contact with keystone or trigger markers. Do not engage resonance harmonics near seal point. Collapse event scenario, Category 7, global. Trenton didn't hesitate. He forwarded the file directly to Dr. Reyes with only one line attached. "It's not a wall, it's a lock. And we're breaking it." Back beneath the Sierras, the expanded research team prepared to penetrate the breach. Geophysicists, linguists, and structural analysts gathered around monitors as a tethered drone crawled cautiously into the widening crack. The air inside wasn't dusty, as they expected. It was clean, sterile, almost prepared. The feed displayed something that made every stomach in the control room knot. Not chaos, not a crumbling rockfall, but a corridor, massive, angled with geometric perfection. The walls were the same fused stone as the exterior, but laced with faintly glowing red veins, pulsing like capillaries. As the drone advanced, its lights swept across a series of pillars. Each was inscribed with glyphs. Rhea's eyes widened. She recognized them immediately. Symbols identical to those carved at Göbekli Tepe, identical to etchings found in Japan, Bolivia, Ethiopia. Identical to the ones dismissed for centuries as unrelated coincidences. Here, all together, unified. And then the corridor opened into a chamber. At its far end loomed a door. It was seamless, round, 10 meters high, as though forged from a single impossible material. Across its face were blackened patterns burned into the surface like brands. Above the door, etched in a spiral, the drone captured a phrase repeating again and again in multiple ancient languages. "Do not wake the builder." Reyes gripped the console, her voice trembling. This wasn't built to keep something out. It was built to keep something inside. That night, a cascade of failures rippled across North America. Every GPS satellite blinked offline simultaneously for 87 seconds. Planes grounded, navigation lost, communications scrambled. When the network recovered, one satellite remained corrupted. Not one orbiting Earth, but a deep space observatory facing the Epsilon Eridani system. 10.5 light-years away, its feed glitched, then stabilized into something unmistakable, a black void framed by starlight. And then, movement. A massive triangular silhouette drifted across the field of view. No light, no reflection, just absence. Yet instruments confirmed it was real, and it was emitting the exact same pulse as the Sierra Wall. Not randomly, not approximately, in perfect synchronization. Reyes felt her chest tighten as she connected the last fragments of data. This isn't a wall. It's part of a network, a lattice. Earth isn't just housing one sealed structure, it's part of the system. A node, a vault, and whatever's inside that door is designed to stay sealed, unless called. Colonel Rey, standing beside her, whispered, "And now, it's been called." 2 days later, the final confirmation arrived. Seismic teams across Asia confirmed another anomaly beneath the Tibetan Plateau. In Greenland, thermal imaging detected unnatural heat signatures under 4 kilometers of ice. Both locations pulsed at the same accelerating frequency as the Sierra Wall. It wasn't one lock, it was 4. And now, all 4 were awake. Across secure communication channels, researchers and analysts watched in awe and dread as the signals converged. No longer independent, the 4 structures now sang in unison. The message, pieced together from overlapping harmonic patterns, left little room for doubt. Containment breached. Awaiting convergence. Do not enter the gate. The builder sleeps. Do not sing the song. Yet as Rhea's team watched the drone feed one final time, the impossible happened. The door at the end of the Sierra corridor began to glow. Faint at first, like embers stirring in the dark. Then brighter. A circular outline ignited across its surface, humming with the same pulse now shaking the Earth's core. It was no longer just a lock. It was an invitation. And someone, or something, had just turned the key. The door beneath the Sierra Nevada wall was no longer dormant. Its circular surface now pulsed with a slow, deep, red rhythm. Every 6 seconds, a heartbeat of stone and light. No handle, no hinge. Just perfect, seamless geometry that vibrated with intention. The air inside the corridor had grown heavy, charged with static that made skin prickle and breath shallow. And now, across the world, 3 other doors had begun to respond. Greenland, Tibet, West Africa, each one linked to the Sierra structure, each one singing the same signal, no longer warnings but instructions. Alignment achieved. Seal phase has ended. Convergence begins. Inside the control tent above the breach, Dr. Hannah Reyes stared in silence. Her face pale, her hands trembling as she clutched the decoded fragments from Project OMPH loss. Across the feed from the tethered drone, new glyphs lit up above the Sierra door. Symbols no one had seen before. Dr. McConnon, patching in from Addis Ababa, translated as they formed. Second seed, third vault, fourth host. Prepare the gate. Colonel Ray slammed a fist onto the table. We don't have time to wait. If that thing opens, we need boots on the ground, a full shutdown protocol. Dr. Reyes shook her head. No, you still don't get it. We didn't trigger this. We just woke up in the middle of it. That night, the world changed. All across the Earth, from deep oceans to high desert plateaus, seismic instruments recorded synchronized vibrations. Not earthquakes, but resonance waves. Rhythmic, structured, measured. From ancient caves in Peru, long-sealed tombs in Sudan, and abandoned Arctic ruins once believed to be Viking, the same pulse emerged. Faint, then louder, as if a forgotten system spanning the globe was reactivating, piece by piece. At 3:33 a.m. GMT, all 4 doors around the world opened at once, silently, effortlessly. The Sierra Vault drone transmitted the impossible, a chamber the size of a cathedral. Walls made of dark, glassy mineral that bent light, and in the center an object suspended in the air, rotating slowly. Not a machine, not an idol. A body, 10 feet tall, thin, elongated limbs, skull-like head with no eyes, no mouth, only ridges of interlocking symbols across its face. Its chest was cracked open, as if burned from the inside. And from within that hollow core, a glowing stone hovered. The readings were off the charts. Heat, gravity distortion, time dilation within a 3-meter radius. And worst of all, the heartbeat was coming from the stone, not the body. Then the lights in the chamber dimmed, and the corpse twitched. At that same moment, every deep space telescope facing the Epsilon Eridani sector registered a change. The object seen there, the triangle, was no longer drifting. It had stopped, turned, and then began moving toward Earth. Based on trajectory data, it would arrive in 17 months. But that wasn't what chilled Dr. Reyes to the bone. It wasn't coming fast, it was coming on schedule.